CTV News with Jack Morse.
The Alberta model should be the Canadian model is what I learned.
High praise for how Alberta is tackling its crisis as Barrie's mayor eyes that province's homelessness response. Thank you for joining us. Barrie Mayor Alex Nuttall is back from a two-day trip out west. He says he's taking notes on how Alberta is dealing with mental health, addictions, and homelessness. CTV's Luke Simard has followed the mayor's trip this week. He joins us live from City Hall to tell us more. Luke.
Well, Jack, from navigation centres to recovery communities in prison, Alberta welcomed Alex Nuttall and showed him strategies and programs really related to the recovery systems and the programs that they are using, as he hopes to bring it back to Ontario to learn more. Barrie Mayor Alex Nuttall returning to City Council last night after a two-day trip to Alberta, where he learned the ins and outs of how the province is addressing homelessness and mental health addictions, including navigation centres, recovery communities, therapeutic recovery centres in jails, and are currently adding 300 more beds for mandatory rehabilitation, something the mayor has been advocating for in Ontario.
Alberta is about a third of our size, just a little less than a third of our size. It would say that we would need, 900 to 1,000 beds to, match the ratios in terms of population and beds for rehab.
He believes the Alberta model should be adapted countrywide.
This is truly a Canadian issue, right, that goes from Vancouver to Halifax. We need to make sure that there is a Canadian response. If it's done in a piecemeal way, it's not going to have the same effect as if it's done across the country. And we know British Columbia is now changing direction. They're walking away from the injection sites and towards a more meaningful approach.
Adding he will be bringing what he learned in Alberta to the Ontario provincial governments and other cities around the province.
We just got to figure out how it fits in Ontario and how we can make the Alberta model the Canadian model.
Fire Chief Kevin White joined the mayor in Calgary, where the pair met with city officials around the issues of encampments, something the city of Calgary has been struggling with.
Even though we're a smaller department compared to Calgary's department, it was great to see how they handle some issues like responding to the opioid crisis and such things that are happening in our city now.
The mayor highlighting a key difference with how Calgary distributes bylaw tickets to the homeless living in encampments.
They use those tickets to create a separate court to try to divert the individuals into addiction support. And so it was really what I learned there was let's find as many touch points as we can to help people move into getting their life on track.
Back live outside of City Hall, where the mayor has confirmed with CTV News that the city has eliminated all the remaining encampments that were located on city property. And according to the city's website, the mayor has reached out to the Minister of Transportation for assistance on removing encampments that are bordering on provincial properties along highways. Reporting live, I'm Luke Samara. Jack, we'll send it back inside to you.
Well, thank you, Luke. Now, at last night's executive committee meeting, Barrie city staff gave an update on the encampment situation.
The City of Barrie continues to make progress well into the emergency order in addressing encampments throughout the city. Currently, we have no known encampments on city-owned properties. That being said, our encampment response team continues to monitor multiple locations in which recent activity has been reported, but again, no physical encampments are there.
Jeff Schmidt reports the city has removed 99 sites, saying Simcoe County reports 643 people are still homeless in Barrie. The county is in the final preparation stage before opening its new 40-unit bridge housing facility on Tiffin Street, which will see people transferred there in the coming months. In terms of warming centers around the region, the city confirmed they're all full, with some of them operating beyond capacity. In other news, a 42-year-old Barrie woman is facing charges after allegedly driving impaired with a child in the car. Barrie police say the woman's vehicle hit several pillars outside a building on North Village Way last night. Her 5-year-old was inside the car. No one was hurt, but officers allege she was 3 times over the legal limit. The child was picked up by a family member at the scene. A stretch of Highway 11 in Orillia was closed in both directions early this morning after a tractor-trailer jackknifed. This was the scene at Old Barrie Road East and Memorial Avenue, where officers said the crash happened late yesterday evening. No injuries were reported. A Toronto teen who admitted to being one of 4 masked, hammer-wielding jewelry thieves has been sentenced to in a brazen daytime robbery at Barrie's Georgian Mall. CTV's Mike Arslidis reports.
A 17-year-old jewelry thief who was arrested along with 4 others following a smash and grab at the Georgian Mall last August has been sentenced to time served following 6 months in custody. The 17-year-old won't be released from custody just yet, facing separate gun charges in Toronto this month. Before sentencing the teen, the Barrie judge referenced a letter written to the court by the owner of Dia Amore Jewelers, who described worrying each day if another robbery will take place at his business, telling the court, "We live and work in fear," adding, "What was taken from us was more than merchandise. Our sense of safety, peace, and security has been shattered. The emotional damage will stay with us longer than any financial loss." The teen said he was one of 4 young men who ran into Dia Amore Jewelers with hammers in hand, smashing jewelry cases, grabbing everything they could get their hands on, before fleeing in a stolen car that later crashed in a construction zone along Innisfil Beach Road. He was the first of the accused to plead guilty after being denied bail twice. 2 of his co-accused, 22-year-old Ahmed Al-Said and 19-year-old Jazai Smith, remained behind bars. Al-Said, the only man from Barrie, had been working as a mechanic weeks prior to the jewelry store robbery. 2 youths who are now 17 and 18 were bailed out, including one young man police said was found with a gun on him when he was arrested. Dia Amore Jewelers had been victimized twice in 12 months. The court heard the youth has had a terrible upbringing that included his mother dying at a young age and being abused by his uncle. The youth said he fell in with the wrong crowd. Given enhanced credit of 9 months for pre-sentence custody, the teen will be placed on probation for 2 years, including curfew. He is also barred from visiting the Georgian Mall. His co-accused returned to court in March. The identities of those under 18 are protected by the Youth Criminal Justice Act. The allegations against them have not been tested in court. Mike Arsleedy, CTV News, Barrie.
A 14-year-old student in Huntsville is facing charges. This comes after officers were alerted last Thursday about a student in the Trillium Lakelands District School Board making comments to peers about causing harm at the school. The youth was charged with uttering threats, but officials say the incident is isolated and there's no threat to public safety. An OPP officer charged with impaired driving while on duty made his first appearance in a Midland courtroom today. 40-year-old Chris Prout appeared by video and told the court he plans to enter a treatment program. The Southern Georgian Bay OPP constable is accused of driving impaired during a January 15th shift, having a blood alcohol level over the legal limit. He remains suspended with pay. A major update today to a story that got the attention of the entire country last summer. Charges have been dropped against a Lindsay man accused of assaulting an intruder who was trying to break into his Kawartha Lakes area home last August. Police say he woke to find an intruder with a crossbow, leading to a fight that left the intruder seriously hurt. The Crown now says there's no reasonable chance of conviction. The intruder still faces break-and-enter charges. This incident sparked national interest, prompting calls for changes to self-defense laws from Premier Doug Ford and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. A little later in the show, we'll be speaking with retired OPP Commissioner and CTV Public Safety Analyst Chris Lewis about Canadian self-defense laws and reaction to this case. One of Barrie's newest premier summer events has been officially named one of Ontario's top 100 festivals. Crazy ones, and probably a few hazy ones. The man when my days are done. That's right, we're talking about Troubadour Festival Summer Concert Series. The honor comes after the festival's breakout 2025 season, drawing more than 15,000 visitors to downtown Barrie's waterfront. National headliners, including Dean Brody, and local artists made the festival a summer highlight, showcasing the city as a destination for arts and culture. And stay tuned, because the excitement continues with the official 2026 headliner announcement, March 9th. CTV News, Pure Country 106 and Bounce 104.1 are proud to partner with the Downtown Barrie BIA to present the Troubadour Festival Summer Concert Series. And on that exciting note, let's say hello to Casey Colby to see if the weather is just as good of news.
Well, I think so, sure, yeah. Summer sounds a long way away, but we're dealing with the Ontario Winter Games in Aurelia, so we're ready to celebrate that. And all kinds of things going on today and tomorrow. And again on the weekend, I believe. More on that coming up in just a few minutes' time. Let's talk about first look at the forecast. I don't have any watches and warnings to show you. I feel like I should be giving something. Here's the first look at the forecast. Brought to you by Presler Injury Law. Call 1-800-JUSTICE. Minus 6 degrees out here, Jack. Winds are light for the time being, thankfully. Out of the southwest, about 4 kilometers an hour. quick look at the temperature outside your door as we speak. How about -6 in Newmarket, -6 in Alliston, -8 in Orillia, where the Ontario Winter Games are taking place, -6 in Gravenhurst, -5 in Parry Sound. Give us one more. How about -7 to our friends in Collingwood this evening. This is a look at the radar satellite images. A little snow in the northern section of our viewing area. Well, let's back up a bit and see. Yeah, there is quite a bit, actually, on the way for northern Ontario. Will it touch us? Well, there's a slight chance it could touch us. For the most part, it's destined for the north. Coming up in just a few minutes' time, as mentioned, we have the Ontario Winter Games taking place in and around Orillia. We have skiing tomorrow, Jack, alpine skiing, cross-country skiing, snowboarding, and biathlon taking place as well. Coming up, we'll let you know if any of that snow is going to impede any of the skiers or shooters or whatever we've got going on outside. All that coming up in a few minutes' time, and an early look at the weekend. Back inside.
Well, thank you, Casey. That's important to know. Now, we know just how much the city of Barrie will be forking over to seal the deal on its existing boundary expansion deal. Barrie and Springwater Township have officially signed a compensation agreement linked to the boundary adjustment under Provincial Bill 76. Under that deal, Barrie will pay Springwater about $22 million in installments through 2030, plus another $850,000 over 5 years for economic development. Both mayors say the agreement supports local growth, job creation, and long-term regional planning. A new healthcare services facility is coming to Barrie. Royal Victoria Regional Health Centre announcing today its partnership with Northwest Healthcare Properties REIT to build a 4-story building. The plan is for it to take over a parking lot next to RVH. This building would add space for primary care specialists and other healthcare services near that main hospital.
Patients really need those healthcare connections. When you come up to the hospital for testings or to see your physician, you want to be able to go close to the next appointment or see your healthcare provider. And having a building with medical occupancy right beside the hospital or with related physiotherapy or other services allows you sort of have that one-stop shop for your patient needs.
Construction is planned on the existing lot with targeted completion for 2029. Barrie City Council continued its discussion on parking restrictions and other project updates.
All those in favor? It's approved unanimously.
City staff say they will be studying parking restrictions on both sides of Huronia Road north of Lockhart and of the north side of Lockhart east of the intersection. They're also reviewing no parking zones along Alexander Avenue in the northwest. Findings will be brought back to General Committee.
Lakehead University construction work at 24 Maple Avenue continues.
The city also reported planning is underway for furniture and equipment, with major construction expected to be done by the end of June. The new Sea Cadet facility is set to submit a building permit next month. Work is also moving forward on the Northwest Library branch with base building plans in hand. Over in Bracebridge, the town has given an update on plans for the former Memorial Arena site.
The public input we received was that there was valuable land in the downtown core that would absolutely work and fit for increased housing stock in our community.
The town of Bracebridge bringing this piece of land to the table for developers to offer ideas on, I think is a huge step.
The nearly 1.5-acre property will include a mix of residential and commercial units. 2 buildings are planned, one with smaller apartments, one with larger, both including affordable housing.
The most significant housing project that the district will be undertaking under the big move on housing. So 2 years ago, the district decided to make a major investment in public housing in Muskoka. We know the need is great. We have over 500 households on the wait list. Many of those are seniors who have waited many, many years for housing. This project will allow people to live close to downtown, close to shops and services, close to the grocery store. They'll be able to walk to amenities, participate in the downtown of Bracebridge.
This opens a lot of doors. It's a new project and we're excited to see where it goes.
Construction could begin this fall and is expected to take about 2 years, with the first people moving in 2028. The Premier is pushing for a change to give TTC special constables the power to arrest people using drugs on public transit. It's part of what he says is an effort to make transit safer. CTV's Sean Leathong explains.
They don't have all the power of a police officer, but special constables may soon have new authority to arrest a person who uses drugs on public transit.
I think it's a good suggestion. I would support it. I've seen open drug use in the past.
You see it quite a bit, and no one really does anything.
The Solicitor General of Ontario has proposed changes to the Restricting Public Consumption of Illegal Substances Act. Initially focused on public parks, the proposed changes would allow special constables to tell anyone using drugs on public transit to stop or direct that person to leave. And they can ask anyone suspected of using drugs in public spaces to identify themselves. If the person refuses, they can be arrested.
This is a good option. I think it will allow officers to address the problem.
Sarah Kennedy is the president of the Ontario Special Constables Association. She says that special constables have always had the authority to arrest drug users. The result would be a criminal charge. But she says this change creates a more sensible response.
I'm expecting to see possibly a ticket, possibly what's called a summons, where we can say, okay, we're not giving you a fine, but we are compelling you to go before a justice of the peace and talk to them about this problem. Provincial courts are really empowered to apply probation orders that require that party to engage in therapy or rehabilitation efforts.
Do you understand people are scared to go on the subways right now? They do not feel safe on our subways.
And while some critics have said this change will victimize the vulnerable, Premier Doug Ford was quick to push back.
I know the system inside and out. We're going to help these people. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to help these people, and I want to get them back on their feet and be productive in society. That's what I want to do. I don't want them shooting up in the subways. Unacceptable.
The public does have the opportunity to weigh in on the proposed new regulation, and they can do so until March 1st. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
Prime Minister Mark Carney and his team are headed to Mumbai. The 9-day trip comes amid controversy over past allegations of foreign interference. CTV's Abigail Beeman is part of the entourage. She brings us more on the visit and what it means for Canada-India relations.
In a significant shift, a Canadian government official told reporters Canada does not believe the Indian government is engaged in the same kind of activity the RCMP and the former Prime Minister accused them of. The RCMP and Justin Trudeau said there was evidence the Indian government was involved in violence on Canadian soil, while a CSIS report called India one of the main perpetrators of foreign interference and espionage. 4 Indian nationals are accused in the murder of Canadian Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. That case is currently before the BC Supreme Court. At a briefing, a Canadian official suggested those kinds of activities are no longer happening, stressing productive conversations with the Indian government now and saying twice they didn't believe this trip would go ahead if those activities were still taking place. While some in Canada's Sikh community strongly reject the claim, saying the danger is still a reality, the World Sikh Organization of Canada says more than a dozen community members live under a credible threat. Now, overall, this is a major Indo-Pacific trip with the aim to diversify trade away from the United States. Canada and India have committed to a broad trade deal. While that won't be finalized on this trip, government officials say it will be formally launched. We can also expect Carney and India's Prime Minister to sign a number of smaller agreements known as MOUs or Memorandums of Understanding. CTV News has learned there are expected to be letters of intent as well as MOUs signed on defense, critical minerals and clean energy, as well as something expected to be announced around pulses and uranium. Canada and India have been in talks over a reported $4 billion 10-year uranium deal. Pulses and uranium, both very important in Saskatchewan. And Premier Scott Moe is one of 2 premiers joining on the trip, along with New Brunswick's Susan Holt. Some analysts say big picture this trip is about Carney putting his Davos speech into action.
He's taking that message of middle powers coming together to deal with the disruptions that we're facing, given what the great powers, U.S. and China, are doing, to the region that's actually the most consequential to Canada's future economic prosperity and security.
This will be Mark Carney's first trip to India, Australia, and Japan as Prime Minister. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
This week marked 4 years since Russia invaded Ukraine, sparking the ongoing war which has seen hundreds of thousands dead on both sides. Since then, Ukrainian communities have been growing across Canada, including right here in Barrie. CTV's Mike Lang took a look at how a family of more than a dozen has been adjusting to their new life.
In 2022, Tetiana Zelina and her large family moved to Canada, escaping the war in Ukraine.
Our city last week put bombs our city. And very hard time.
Tetiana was pregnant as she and her family of 12 fled from that reality and settled in Barrie.
This is very good country for us, for my family, for my kids. We love being in here.
Dariana, Misha.
They found their place to live thanks to Kathy Locke, who grew up in a large family herself. At a time when she was thinking of selling her home, Kathy instead welcomed the Zillins and Zillinas into it with open arms.
When this family came, I just knew there was nowhere where they would go that they could afford it. So they just stayed with me, and here we are 3.5 years later.
To make room for them, Kathy and her son moved from the main floor to the basement. She says the family members have been wonderful neighbors.
Every child that turned 16, they've all gotten their license. All of the ones that can work are working, which is amazing. And mom and dad both work, so they all pull together.
Tetiana works as a school bus driver, and her husband works long hours for a local infrastructure manufacturer. Tim works part-time at a local gym and is getting set for his post-secondary studies.
I'm at the high school, and this is my last year, actually. I will be planning to go to college, hopefully for mechanic, engineering, yeah.
The family, Kathy says, have become more than just her tenants, with the younger kids calling her grandma in Dutch, as she used to live in Holland.
She calls me Oma and screams down the stairs, so yeah, we're like a family.
The Zillins and Zillinas still need to make sure their immigration papers and work permits are kept in order, particularly for one of their daughters. But they're well on their way to adjusting to life in Canada and calling Simcoe County home. Mike Lang, CTV News, Barrie.
One of the hottest teams in junior hockey, the Barrie Colts, are looking to extend their 10-game winning streak this weekend.
Across to Hemming. Hemming to Zabeski. Zabeski shot, scores!
The Colts earned their 10th straight victory Saturday night at home against the Brantford Bulldogs, where they hit two major milestones. Co-captain Kashawn Atchison and set a new franchise record for most points by a defenseman. Rookie head coach Dylan Samoskowitz recorded his 40th win of the season. Barrie now has 17 of its last 18 games that it's won, climbing to 5th in the Canadian Hockey League rankings.
And we're not taking anybody lightly. You know, we're not a team that looks at the standings much. We're not a team that over exaggerates any game more than the other. We just really want to have good showings. It's all about us right now.
Obviously, it was a pretty big goal in a big game. So, yeah, it was just good to get on the board. Hammer made an unbelievable pass. And, yeah, no, it was obviously a great feeling.
The Colts are on the road this weekend. Tomorrow night they travel to Sarnia to take on the Sting. Then they'll head to Windsor Saturday to play the Spitfires. Their next home game is a week from tonight when they'll host the OHL leading Brantford Bulldogs, who currently sit 3 points in front of the Colts. Still to come, splashing and learning. How one Barrie swim school is helping kids stay safe in the water. Plus, how students in Collingwood are stepping up in the February cold, supporting youth facing homelessness. You're watching CTV News Barrie. Thanks for sticking with us. It's a fact. Children under 5 are at the highest risk of drowning. That's why a local business wants to make water safety everyone's responsibility.
We teach a life skill, and this is something we try to stress. It's like walking, talking, you got to learn to swim.
Splash and Learn co-owner Davina Lopez says the Barrie-based swim school offers lessons for kids as young as 3 months old, right through to adults and seniors. While the classes are fun for kids, the focus is on building confidence, skills, and life-saving water safety habits.
So when you come in and you see the smiling faces of kids having fun in the water and learning a life skill, and for every parent that's in our viewing area, and when they see those moments, they have a little sigh of relief that we've actually helped them become safer. Every child, adult, anywhere, everywhere, they need to learn to swim.
It's never too early to learn to swim. Splash and Learn offers free baby bubbler classes for infants and their caregivers. Students, staff and families at Nottawa Elementary School laced up today for a youth homelessness walk in Collingwood.
We want to make sure that everybody has a home and food, and nobody deserves to be on the streets.
Our school really works hard to make sure that we're developing character from within and getting kids to recognize that giving back to their community is an excellent thing to do. And even though they're young people, they can make a difference in their community.
The school community walked the yard in the February cold to raise awareness and money for Home Horizon. Their goal was $1,500, but they've already raised nearly $3,000, more than double their target. The principal says students have been learning about homelessness, budgeting, and housing challenges. They focus on how every step and every dollar can make a difference.
This is our largest fundraiser. Less than 25% comes from government funding. So the rest of that is up to me to fundraise. And this being our largest fundraiser, it is about the money. It is about the dollar amount. It is about the donations. But it's also about the support, the awareness. These kids knowing that there is help out if they find somebody that really needs help from our youth outreach, our youth thrive, or eventually come into the Barbara Wider House if we have the space.
Now they're still accepting donations as the school continues to support local youth in need. The 2026 Ontario Winter Games are gearing up for Week 2 in Orillia, with a second opening ceremonies happening in Centennial Park this evening. This weekend, competitors will take part in alpine skiing, artistic swimming, 5-pin bowling, cross-country, para-Nordic, fencing, futsal, snowboarding, and wrestling across Orillia and Simcoe County. Still to come, a new hockey rivalry is heating up. We asked which Canadian city can call themselves the birthplace of hockey. But first, let's check in with Casey in the garden.
Ladies and gentlemen, on this day in medical history, Felix Hoffman patented aspirin. And after the forecasts I've had to deliver this past winter, I thank you, Felix. I thank you for patenting aspirin and bringing it to us. Our weather watcher artiste, have a look. Yeah, Michaela says, I'm chasing rainbows. Relax. You're watching CTV News Barrie.
Hey, it's Steph from Bounce 1041, and this week on the show, we're giving away tickets to Honeymoon Suite and Streetheart. And don't forget, Bounce to the Beach is back, so make sure you're listening to get those code words in for your chance to win.
Picture this, brought to you by Bounce 1041 and Pure Country 106.
This week, we're calling on athletes of all ages to send us your sports photos. On the ice, in the field, at the gym, or on the slopes, we want to see you in action. You can send your photos to Picture This at ctv.ca for a chance to be featured. Now, heading back outside, Casey Colby, is it going to be warm enough this weekend for me to chip the ice out of my driveway?
Oh, yeah, no problem. I'll loan you my torch.
I have a little shovel thing to break up the ice with. I think it works okay.
Well, listen, when you've been here as long as I have, you bring the big tools out because you got to deal with it big time. That's right. And yeah, sure, you got to start chipping, right? Less than a month till spring. Little chippy, right? Let's talk about our first look. No, it's not the first look, Case. It's the first look at this with the wind chill map. First look at the wind chill, -12 right now in Orillia, where of course, the Ontario Winter Games taking place. Factoring in the wind chill, -11 is what it feels like in Alliston, -11 in Mount Forest, -12 in Owen Sound. Our friends in Owen Sound, home of the Attack, I might add. We're Colts people here in Barrie. Yeah, loving the Colts. Almanac for today, -4, -10, that's the high, that's the low. 11.5 back in 2000. Yeah, and -31.5 back in 2003. Sun rises tomorrow 6:59, sets at 6:04, 11 hours and 5 minutes. Adam, if you would please, the forecast radar. Here comes a little snow. Not really much as far as accumulation goes, but yeah, Mother Nature has known to prove me wrong in the past. Oh, I hate when I have to say that. But this is Southern Temperatures in Bay Lake, Simcoe. Overnight temperatures, -10. Some flurry activity? Yes, there is some flurry activity. Are we looking at any accumulation? Well, no, it should be trace. That means trace amounts. 4 degrees for tomorrow, Jack. 40% chance of flurries in the morning. Then sun and cloud into the afternoon. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Orangeville, Bradford, Georgina, Newmarket, Richmond Hill, -8, -9, -10. 40% chance of seeing a flurry this evening or 2. And then for tomorrow, 4 and 5 degrees in Richmond Hill. 40% chance of flurry in the morning, and then sun and cloud into the afternoon. Thank you. This is Parry Sound, Huntsville, Bracebridge, Gravenhurst, Halliburton, -9, -11, -12. 2 to 5 centimeters of snow accumulation this evening. 2 to 5, higher elevations should see about 5. 3 degrees tomorrow for the high, 60% chance of flurries in the morning. Sun and cloud in the afternoon, except Halliburton. You're looking at cloud for the better part of all day. That's tonight and tomorrow. Now time for the Diamond and Diamond Lawyers 5-day extended forecast, ladies and gentlemen. Saturday, an early look at the weekend, 30% chance of rain and or snow coming down under fair skies, -2, -15. Sunday, much the same situation, a little cooler, I might add. 30% chance of some flurries, -10, -20. Monday, there's the sun and cloud, that is, -8, -14, definitely winter temperatures. -1 on Tuesday, cloudy skies. Well, that's getting a little more springy. 5-day extended forecast, York Region, have a look. Saturday, sunny skies and 3 degrees. That's the high. Sunday, introduction of a little cloud, 40% chance of some flurry activity, -7. Monday has sun and cloud and -6. And Tuesday, more cloud cover and 0 for the high. Muskoka, Parry Sound, Halliburton, have a look. Saturday, 40% chance of some flurry activity and or some showers, okay? I'm leaning more towards the flurry activity, -3, -18. Sunny on Sunday, -11. And -23, that's a zippy one overnight. And Monday, sunny and -8, -16. Tuesday looks like cloud back into the region, and March by that point, -1, -15. So it's going to take a while, Jack, before we have any consistent days above the freezing mark, but I'll let you know. Back inside.
I mean, I'll look forward to that, KC. Now, Team Canada takes silver at the Winter Olympics, both the men and the women. Gold slips away, but now the focus shifts to a new rivalry. Which Canadian city can claim the title of hockey's birthplace? CTV's Paul Hollingsworth sets out to find the answer.
There is an intense Made in the Maritimes hockey rivalry brewing between two Nova Scotia communities. Windsor and Dartmouth both lay claims to be the place where hockey was invented in the 1800s.
These were found all back there.
Sports historian Danny Dill says there are essays and artifacts going back more than 200 years that prove hockey started in Windsor.
They were doing research in the 80s, and they come across this passage about two boys playing on Long Pond. It was 1816, 1818.
But according to historian David Jones, hockey was first played on this frozen lake in Dartmouth using these strap-on skates.
Oh yeah, this goes back to the earliest days of playing hockey on Lake Banook, on Oat Hill Lake, on Halifax Harbour.
The Nova Scotia legislature recently introduced Bill 187, an act to recognize Windsor as the official birthplace of hockey. When Jones found out, his reaction was...
I said, the Windsor what?
Jones's father, Martin, wrote a book about hockey's original roots beginning in Dartmouth and says there is rock-solid research to back it up.
It's undeniable. It's right here. It's in Dartmouth. And sadly, Windsor doesn't have a claim at all.
Dill's reaction to the suggestion hockey was first played in Dartmouth?
I'd say I'm sorry, no, it didn't. I mean, I really hate to say this, I have before, and I've got proof in here, documented proof.
Other places in Canada also claim to be the birthplace of hockey, including Montreal and Kingston, Ontario. Danny Dill says the historical evidence shows hockey started here in Windsor, Nova Scotia. People then introduced the sport to other parts of Canada, and he says there is no debate. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Windsor, Nova Scotia.
Still to come, what does it mean to defend yourself? A Lindsay man seriously hurt an intruder in his home. At first charged, those charges have been dropped. We speak to an expert on self-defense law. Plus, we'll recap tonight's stories. You're watching CTV News Barrie. Recapping our top stories, one of four caught after a brazen daytime robbery at Barrie's Georgian Mall in August has been sentenced. The 17-year-old pleaded guilty to 5 months after he was arrested. Given credit for time served, he'll be on probation for 2 years and banned from Georgian Mall. Barrie Mayor Alex Nuttall says he wants to see Ontario tackle homelessness the way Alberta has. That after meeting with lawmakers in that province this week. The so-called Alberta method uses stronger enforcement, up to and including involuntary treatment to get people off the streets. And it's been 4 years of war in Ukraine. And for almost that whole time, one Barrie woman has been sharing her home with a family of 13 fleeing Russian aggression. Kathy Locke took them in, and over the last 3 years, they've become as close as family. The charges against a Lindsay man who's accused of assaulting someone who was trying to break into his Kawartha Lakes area home have been dropped. That case garnered national attention, putting Canadian self-defense laws in the spotlight. To break down those for us, we've got Chris Lewis, former OPP commissioner and CTV's public safety analyst. Chris, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Jack.
Now, Chris, I think this case shocked a lot of people because they don't understand how someone who, as best as we can tell, was protecting his home could be charged with assault. Is this common, and is this how Canadian self-defense laws are meant to be interpreted?
No, well, no, not at all. Each situation like this has to be viewed under its own merit. And I think the issue here, Jack, was the amount of force used by Mr. McDonald in the view of the police and the Crown Attorney who would have reviewed it at the time was excessive and not proportionate to the force being used against him. And you know, in simple terms, and a far-reaching example would be if somebody comes in, a 15-year-old kid with nothing in their hand in your home at night, very concerning, but can you use lethal force to kill them? Versus somewhere in the middle here, this guy used force, there was a threat. How much force did the individual use against them becomes the rub in trying to sort that out.
So, well, that being the case, why lay charges against someone like this if those charges are ultimately going to be dropped?
Well, they wouldn't have known they were going to be dropped at the time. Once again, I mean, the police struggled with this. It wasn't a case where police just wanted to charge somebody. They viewed it, and their analysis was the force was excessive in terms of the proportionality against the force used or the threat against him. And Crown Law would have reviewed that. The police wouldn't just lay the charge because that was going to be such a high-profile case. So in hindsight now, the Crown has reviewed it again. They've determined not that he didn't break the law, but that the likelihood of a conviction wasn't good. So the case just wasn't strong enough in their view.
Okay then, Chris, so what should our viewers do in a situation like this? They wake up in the middle of the night, they find someone in their home with a weapon trying to break in.
Well, you know, and there lies the issue. Do you try and get away? If you're cornered and you can't get away, use as much force as you have to protect yourself, by all means. But just don't go overboard. If the guy's unconscious, you don't keep beating him. If he's on his way out and the threat no longer exists, you don't shoot him in the back. And so it has to be reasonable. In this case, I think the guy's got a lucky break here because of the decision by the Crown to drop the charges. But at the same time, it was an iffy case, obviously.
Thank you, Chris. That was CTV's public safety analyst, Chris Lewis. Now, if you're looking to revisit this conversation or learn more about the case, you can find it on our website, ctvnews.ca/Barrie. Statistics Canada is sharing some new insights into the employment picture across the country. On the surface, total employment didn't change too much in December, with about 8,200 jobs added nationwide. But the new report highlights some notable shifts in terms of underlying trends in the economy and which industries are seeing the biggest hits. Meanwhile, 2 days ahead of schedule, Diageo has closed its Crown Royal plant in Amherstburg. The union says workers at the plant received no notice. The final shift was scheduled for tomorrow. The company announced the closure 6 months ago, cutting over 200 jobs. The Premier had threatened to remove Crown Royal from LCBO shelves, but reached a deal with Diageo earlier this month, promising $1 million for economic initiatives in Amherstburg. Canada's main stock index jumped nearly 200 points in late morning trading, boosted by industrials and energy. Let's take a look at where the numbers closed at the end of the day. The TSX was up 374 points, the Dow was up 17, and the NASDAQ was down 273. In commodities, oil was down, closing at $65.21 a barrel. Gold was down, finishing at $5,194 an ounce. And our dollar was down, ending the day at 73.06 cents U.S. Still to come, a legendary radio host signing off the airwaves. We'll tell you what's next from Marilyn Dennis, saying goodbye to Chum 104.5 after 40 years. You're watching CTV News Barrie.
Bounce 104.1 wants you to bounce to the beach. Listen for your chance to win an all-inclusive vacation for two to Sandals South Coast in Jamaica every weekday. Bounce to the beach with Sandals Resorts. Get closer to the Caribbean.
Taking a look at your primetime lineup for tonight, we've got a 2-hour block of The New Girl starting at 8 o'clock. At 10, Criminal Minds and CTV News at 11. It's the end of an era at Chum 104.5. Marilyn Dennis has announced she'll be stepping away from the mic for good this summer.
It is -7 right now.
-7. In the summer, it'll be +24.
Hopefully.
And this summer is when I'm going to celebrate my 40th anniversary living in this Chum universe.
She's a morning radio icon, and today, Marilyn Dennis surprised listeners.
40 years doing this morning show.
40 years.
Isn't that amazing?
I love it.
I can't believe I'm saying that. But I also have to say something else. It's been a privilege, but I'm also going to step away this summer from this morning show and this station that I love.
After a historic radio career that started in 1976, she says it's time.
It's hard to leave when everything's going well, but I thought that was a good benchmark to say that's enough. And maybe some people feel the same way.
They know what makes you feel good.
Toronto talks about Roger, Rick, and Marilyn.
Her presence on Canadian airwaves groundbreaking. She says she got into radio because she wasn't hearing female voices.
I'm Edmonton born, but I was brought up in Pittsburgh because of my dad's work, and I used to listen to the top 40 radio stations. I thought, these guys are having fun, yes, and they play great music, yes, but he wasn't hearing any women.
She added her distinct voice to the mix and built a successful television career, too. Dennis signed off from her daytime TV show in 2023, honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Canadian Screen Awards the following year.
Love Marilyn. I absolutely love her from childhood.
Great fashion and just been a wonderful person. Oh, I'm going to miss her. That sucks.
You are going to be so missed, Marilyn Dennis. You are Chum and have been Chum for 40 years. And I don't want there to be any tears.
She says even though it's her decision, it's not an easy one.
It's kind of like my routine for 40 years.
For 40 years, waking up at what time?
Well, it depends.
2, 3 in the morning?
Today it was 2:30.
No sleeping in yet, though. Her final show will air sometime this summer with plenty of surprises along the way. Michelle Dubé, CTV News.
Now to head back outside one more time this evening for our Get Up and Go with KC.
Roger, Rick, and Marilyn, man, I grew up with that. That was some fantastic radio. Marilyn Dennis, thank you very much. Get up and go forecast. First thing tomorrow morning, what are we looking at? Chance of flurries right across the board. Barrie, -6. Cloudy skies, chance of flurries, -5. In Newmarket, chance of flurries at 7 o'clock in the morning. And at 7 o'clock in the morning, -5 and a chance of flurries in the Gravenhurst area. Have yourself a fantastic evening, Jack, and everyone a better tomorrow. Back inside.
Thank you, KC. Well, that's our newscast for tonight. I'm Jack Morse. Thank you for joining us. I'll be back on the desk with your news at 11. Till then, good night.